Hello, people. Good evening. Welcome to MrO.com. And it's an honor to be with you this evening. Those of you who are here for the first time, I say welcome wherever you are watching me from. I know it's late in so many places now, but it's 5 p.m. here in America right now, where I am. And I just want to bring you this because I gave you a prior notice that we'll do another horse sit. This program is a preparatory program. It is not an interview for a school placement. It's a preparatory program that is aimed at helping those who have been booked for principal interviews in various schools by the teacher agencies. And we initiated this in order to help the numerous people who have been reaching out to me that they want to get ready, they want guidance, they want preparatory. This is one of the programs that we can use to help all of us. Now, I was a little late and I want to apologize for that because I was supposed to start 30 minutes ago. But all those who requested to be on the program, I've tried calling them, I've sent them links, and they are not responding. They are not responding. Most of them are asleep. Most of them, I don't know if their data is even on. But we are here. We will do what we need to do. And I'm expecting one or two people who are already situated to see if they can come and help so that we can get this interview underway in a way to prepare those who have been booked. So if you are here and you are confused what is happening, this is what is happening. We are here to conduct another mock interview for a teacher to make him or her ready for the principal interviews. So if you want, we can go live. For now, I'm alone here. And if you are ready, because all those who sent me requests, none of them is responding. So if you are here and you think you can get on the hot seat, please get on with a good internet, with a good lighting, get on the hot seat, and let's do this. Okay? Let's do this. Let's do this. And let's do it quick. Today, I don't want us to get into the night too much. I don't want us to go into the night too much. Good evening, my boss. I'll take some few comments. Good evening, director. I hope everything is fine. Mr. Osei, yes, you are. Let them sleep. We are alive. Thank you, Mr. Osei. Adenyo, thank you for joining me this evening. Good evening to you as well. Latif, good evening to you as well. Thank you so much for all the effort you are also making to watch this broadcast. And as I said before, if anyone knows, in fact, I've sent about 5 people. They all requested to join, but surprisingly, they are not ready. They are not ready. Let me read this comment from here. Next week, okay, I'm trying to tie my answers to my subject, please. For tonight, kindly spare me. All right. So somebody says I should spare her for tonight, and I'm waiting for the rest who requested. Ali and some few people have all requested, and I've sent a link to all of them, and I'm waiting for them to respond. Okay, so let's see how it will go. Today, I have another assistant principal to help me with the questioning as well. So if anyone is here today, let us get in and get this underway. Madam Vivian, are you ready? Are you ready to be in the hot seat? You are not. Because I could bring you on right now and you can test, but you are not even a teacher. So I don't know how it will work out. Or you want to try? Do you want to try? I'm talking to Madame Vivian. Let me see if I can call her from here. Um, So, guys, wake them up. Wake them up. All those who are booked for the interview. Mr. Charles, is Madam ready to join? All right, guys. Laurentia say you are up. Okay, so I'm dropping the link right here. Apart from those that we have booked, if any of you is awake and you are ready to join, please use this link. Type it in exactly as it is, or just click on it from the comment section, and you should be able to join the live. Okay, somebody says it's ready. Let me test if she can be ready for tonight. Yesterday, so let me recap from yesterday. Yesterday, as we wait for the participants. So yesterday we discussed a lot of questions, and we asked about classroom management. We asked about handling your children assessment, your teaching style, and there was one question that will always come. Tell us about yourself. So let me break it down for everyone. The questions are going to be about you, the teacher. There'll be questions about the students. There'll be questions about assessment. So this assessment question is both for you and your students. About you, almost everything is going to be about you. Is that okay? Then there'll be few questions related to the school system. So there'll be students and there'll be parents and the school system and the procedures and the rules and regulations. That is mainly how these questions are segmented. There'll be few questions that will go outside these particular domains. But if those ones come, because you're a professional teacher, you will be able to get through. In fact, before I got onto this video, we received a very bad news that a teacher has beaten a student, and it's very unfortunate. And I'm going to give you details, but when it happens like that, they'll put you on administrative leave, and whatever decision the district makes, then you have to comply with it. And this is just to encourage us and to also warn us, those of us who are coming. If you have problem with anger, this teaching program you are coming on is about managing your anger and the anger of other people. It's a very crucial thing that we need to learn. We need to learn the virtue of being patient. We need to learn the virtue of putting ourselves aside and thinking about the cash. You know what I mean? No matter what happens, never lay a finger on any student. Even if the student is slapping you, wait, let them slap you. You press charges. You never know. You could hit your $1 million by that means. Just go to court straight up. But do not retaliate. Do not try to defend yourself. If it's self-defense, beautiful. If it's getting bloody, you can defend yourself. You can make sure that you check yourself to safety. All right. But don't try to do any other thing beyond that. I'm begging you guys. There are so many stories that are coming up that I cannot share some of them because some of them are still under investigation. So this is just to tell us patience, being careful is what we need. All right, Madame Asafo is here, and we are going to put her on the stage. Madam, are you ready? Good, 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 good. Let me get my tools ready before I add you. All righty. Welcome to the hot seat, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. O. Thank you.
Yes, so today you are here as a candidate that has applied to a school in the United States, and we'll get into the interview mood very soon. I'll be the principal, and I have other assistant principals that will be asking you questions as well. So as they come along, then we all juggle and we learn together. All right?
That's fine.
Good. So once we get into the interview mood, it is strictly principal teacher relationship. We ask the questions, you tell us to the best of your knowledge and your ability as a professional teacher how you answer those questions. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So we are here, guys. We are here. We are about to start. Please, I think there's a feedback from you. One of your either your phone or something is giving me feedback. I don't know. Are you using
Okay.
the speaker?
Yes, I'm using the speaker.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So it's giving me feedback a little bit. It's okay. We'll manage it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, Madam Pell, let me put your name on the screen so that for everybody to see. Now, let's go. Welcome. My name is Mr. O of I'm the principal of this school, and we are going to have a few interaction with you, ask you some few questions in your application for a teaching position in our school. And some of my other principals will join me if the time comes, and they will also ask you. And we have the head of the English department as well, who will be joining us very soon. So I'll
That's
begin
fine.
the questioning, and we'll see how the others will join. All right.
Okay.
Good. Can you introduce yourself to us? Can you tell us about yourself?
Uh, I'm Pearl Osafo. I graduated with a BA in psychology with linguistics at the University of Ghana. I further went on to study MA in teaching English as a second language. I've been teaching English for the past 18 years. I love to teach the subject, and I believe I'm good at it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Can you tell us how you prepare for your lessons on a typical day as a teacher?
Whilst preparing or before I prepare for my lesson, I consider the topic I'm supposed to teach. I look at the age of my students. I also look at the duration of my lesson. Then I looked at the age appropriate activities to use for the lesson. Yeah, I'm done.
All right. And looking at the age, what age groups do you teach currently?
I teach grade 10 to grade 12.
Oh, okay, grade 10 to grade 12.
Yeah.
And what is the typical duration of your lessons in your home country?
Currently, a typical duration is 2 hours.
Wow, 2 hours.
Yes.
Okay, so how will you manage a school that our duration for a lesson or a period is less than 2 hours? Would that be a challenge for you?
No, it wouldn't. Our duration ranges between 1 hour to 2 hours. So if it is less than 2 hours, Basically, all I do is to reduce my objectives for the lesson to suit the duration.
Why do you reduce your objective rather? Why do you want to reduce the objective? Because if the objective is set, because in our school, the objective is set by the district and it matches the curriculum and the topic. So you have 50 minutes to deliver a lesson per period. So how are you going
Okay.
to reduce the objectives?
Uh, well, the objectives goes with the activities. So if my objectives are too much, meaning that I'll have to spend more time with the activity period. So I wouldn't be able to fall within the duration since my class is always activity based.
Mm. Can you tell us about an activity you did recently with your students and how well you think it went?
Um I was teaching professors
Mhm.
to have this part-time school. I do teach the elementary. So what I did was I got colored papers. Then I grouped my students. We used people who would want to go to the various universities. So each university will have a partner. Then what we did was to use colored papers and we folded them into foldables. Then, when we mention the prefix, we try to bring out the meaning or what the prefix means. Then we write it at the back of the foldables. So at the end of the day or during the lesson, what we do was to what I did, sorry, was to ask each child. I just mentioned the prefix randomly. Then the child will just flip the foldable and will be able to give me the meaning. That is the activity I just did with one of my class.
Oh wow, wow! And how well did it go? Was it successful?
It went well. At the end of the lesson, when I assessed them, I realized that it went down well with them because of the feedback I had.
What sort of feedback did you have?
Positive feedback
And how did you get these positive feedbacks?
through their scores. Then, surprisingly, the following day, when some of the kids came, they had gone to prepare their own foldables, and we had already learned idiomatic expressions, and they have gone to prepare foldables with using the idiom. So I realized I really worked in the class. The activity really had an effect on them.
Okay. What forms of assessment do you use in your class?
I use three forms of assessment. The diagnostic one, where before I start the lesson, I try to test students' knowledge on the topic I'm about to discuss. Then, after that, during when I start teaching, I use formative assessment by asking questions through questions and answers. Or at the end of the class, I give out questions just to test students' understanding of the lesson. Then at the end of the term, what I give is a summative assessment to test their knowledge generally on all that I've taught.
Wow. All right. So we've been joined by one of the assistant principals of our school. And before I let him continue the questioning, I want to take your mind on this. How do you use data in planning of your lesson? How do you use data in planning of your lessons?
Data.
Yes.
Please, can you clarify which form of data are you referring to?
Yeah, we're talking about data, every data that you have access to as a teacher, the student data, the school, whatever data you have access to as a teacher. I want to know how you you make use of data in your lesson planning?
Okay. When I have the access to data of the students, I'm able to know which activity or methods to use for each child, since all the children are not equal when it comes to their level of assimilation. So what I do is that when I get the data of the students, then I know how to handle each one of them.
Hmm. All right. So I'm going to bring in one of the assistant principal, Mr. Boateng, who is also going to ask you some few questions this evening.
Yeah.
Ms. Boateng, please, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Welcome. We look forward to seeing you in our school.
I can't wait. Good evening, sir.
All right. I came in late, but I overheard you saying you had experience enough for you to be successful in our school. And
Yeah.
again, you also said that you have masters in teaching English as second language. So you are very versed in that area. So if in a class you teach and some of your students do not get what you wanted them to get, what do you do for them?
Uh, I put in intervention measures. It could be one-on-one teacher-student intervention, or what I do is to pair them with the right student, the best students who could easily explain concepts to them. Uh, I also I have this typical example where after teaching phrases, then giving out assessments, I realized that it didn't go down well with the students. So what I did was to call them individually to seek their view concern why they couldn't get the lesson. So from their responses, I was able to go back and revisit the lesson, and I taught it. And at the end of the day, it went well.
All right. So what about those who were successful? Those you think they had what you taught?
Those who grasped the concept from the beginning, I gave them additional tasks, which was more difficult than the initial one, so that to test their further abilities.
Great, great. It's good that you give them more work to do, more challenging work, which builds on what they have already learned. It's a very good thing that you're doing. And in your typical classroom, how does it look like?
In my typical classroom, it is always activity based because in this part of the world, my where I am, we know English is not our first language, so the kids have difficulty learning the subject. So what I do is to always involve the kids, activity based lesson. We go out if we have to go out for excursions. For example, if I'm teaching a composition, uh, on an excursion you've embarked on, we go out to the field to experience real life. So after visiting the field, we come back and they are able to write good essays.
Okay. Do you always go out with these kids?
No, what I said initially was my class is always activity based. So we have group work, uh, we have a presentation, class presentations, project work. I give out project work. Or at times in a typical class, you see a teacher guiding or assisting students in the lesson.
Okay. So if I got what you said, you guide them, you make sure anybody who needs any problem, who has challenges, you address the challenges. So let's say I walk into your classroom and I'm coming to observe you. In a typical day, you've planned your lesson. Can you take me through step by step what you will do for that particular day? from the beginning to the time the lesson, the bell will go? What are the steps you take your kids through in a typical lesson?
Okay, in a typical or during a typical lesson, I enter the class and I greet my students. Then I ask them how they are faring. Then quickly I ask them to pick a sheet of paper or their notes. Then they quick write on the topic I'm about to deliver. So, for instance, if I'm teaching reading and comprehension on a topic, maybe my topic is on a market scene, okay, I ask them to quick write on things they when they go to the grocery, what they buy or what they see around. So after I give them about 2 3 minutes to do that, then I ask them what they've written individually. Then based on their response, then I introduce my lesson that today we are having reading and comprehension on the topic a market scene. So basically, what I do is that I first identify the vocabulary or the keywords in the sentence. I have it on my word card. What I do is to introduce them to the lesson, or sorry, to the vocabulary. Then we try to find the dictionary meaning of these words. After identifying or after finding out the dictionary meaning, we use them to form sentences. Then we go to the passage to read. On some days, I model read. Other times, I call out students to read. Then I ask questions based on what they've read. Uh, then I ask them to do silent reading. After doing silent reading, we further discuss the understanding of their passage and what they learned from the passage. Then after that, I give them an assessment to do.
Mr. O, come in. I'll come back. I'll come back to her. And
Please, I can't hear you.
Sorry, my mic was off. Thank you, Mr. Boateng, for that session. Madam Pearl, I wanted to ask, if a student comes to your class, can you tell me 3 incidental things that the student can learn that you didn't plan to teach?
My students can learn, if a student should come to my class, they can learn socialization. They can learn readiness for lesson, how to be always ready for lesson. And then they can learn to be well managed.
Okay. So morals.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is, oh, sorry. That is, I thought the invitation was on you. That's good. That's good. How do you differentiate your lessons?
The students we teach or I teach, I know they all have different abilities. Some are low achievers and some are high achievers. So I plan my lesson to be to inculcate, okay, or I adapt strategies to help each and every learner based on their ability.
And how do you do that? Can you walk me through a typical day how you did different, how you differentiated your lesson for your students?
Okay. On a typical day, I was having reading. Then there was this child I realized could not read fluently. So what I did was to set up a language lab. Then I use a projector and a speaker. Then I modeled. I had already read the passage, so I played it to them. Then I asked them to read one or to listen after each sentence. Then you repeat whatever you heard in the passage. And as a result, I realized the students picked up. With by the end of the term, the student was picking up gradually, and it really helped.
So, for instance, in the United States, we have so many varied students that are going to come to your class. All right. In a typical class, you have those with hearing impairment, those with dyslexia,
Dyslexia.
those with on the spectrum, and all kind of disabilities. How do you differentiate your lesson to cater for these disabilities if you have one in your class? And before you even answer that, can I ask, do you have such students in your home country in your class?
Yes, I once had the student who was an autistic child, so he couldn't cope with the other kids.
Mm.
So what I do is to help him use the hands activity. So through play, then he's able to learn. Now, if a child is dyslexic, I try to make more time for that child, and I helped him, or I help him all the time when we have to do with reading, or who is unable to identify words. I help in that area.
Okay, okay. Because your subject involves a lot of reading. Your subject involves a lot of text, not so many pictures, not so many equations, unlike math. So I needed to be sure, because if you have such a student in your class, how they will be able to cope. That is why I'm asking. Because in the typical classroom in the United States, you have all these students there. Most of them are dyslexic. You guys know this better. And most of them have some of these difficulties in reading and writing and all that. Can you give me a typical example where you helped a student who has a problem with reading and how
Yes.
you were able to help? Can you walk me through?
Uh, Early this year, that was somewhere in February, a student came to a private school where I have a part time. At the age of 8, he couldn't read, so my proprietress wanted to turn him away. So when she called me to look at the entrance exams the student wrote, I told her no, she can't turn such a child away. They are the reason why we are here. So he should give me a task, and I promise her I'm going to fulfill it. So the proprietress invited the parents in, and I was contacted to help this child. I took this child through the phonics, the sounds, putting sounds together. And believe you me, in about 2.5 months, the child could read multisyllabic words. And in fact, it is one achievement I will never forget. Please, I can't hear you. Your mic is off.
I'm sorry. Thank you
That's
so
fine.
much. That was wonderful. I mean, to help a child that is 8 years, because one of the problems you'll be having in your classroom is a lot of students who cannot read and write. So you we needed to be sure that you have the task and you are ready for it. I want to bring in one of our assistant principals who is also in charge of administration here, and he's also going to ask you some few questions. Okay,
All right.
Mr. Samuel, please, you have the floor. Good evening, and thank you for taking your time to join us. Please, you can go ahead.
All right, how you doing, madam?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you too?
Good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, I would want you to arrange these three in order of preference
Okay.
and tell me why. One, content knowledge. Two, student rapport. And three, classroom management. Arrange these three in order of preference and state why.
Okay. Please, can I write?
Oh yeah, you can.
Okay. The first one I'll pick is the content knowledge. Every teacher must be well versed in his or her area. You should know the content. Then, a teacher should be able to build a rapport with all students so that the student will be able to approach you at any time. Then the last one is the classroom management. Uh, when you have your content, then when you're able to build the rapport with the students, definitely the students will know what you like and what you dislike. So when it comes to classroom management, because of the rapport, they will be able to comport themselves. Thank you.
Okay. My second question is have you ever taught a lesson? You prepared to teach a lesson. You went into the classroom and it didn't go the way you liked. Have you
Yes,
done such before? You have. Good.
yes.
Can you tell us what happened and what you did?
Uh, in fact, the topic just escaped me, but I'm trying to remember the exact topic I taught. I taught my students, that is, they are grade 4 pupils, my part-time student. Uh, Similes. So we identify the various similes. We were trying to compare by using comparison method. We through peer grouping, they were able to identify similes. I thought the lesson had gone well. Then at the end of the lesson, normally when I finish teaching, I ask them to use the traffic lights, the red, the green, and the yellow to indicate their understanding. And at the end of the lesson, when I asked the traffic light, then most of the class said red. And I was like, what? So that was what happened.
So what did you do?
What I did was to revisit the lesson. The first thing I did was to ask these pupils went wrong, what their problems were. So, based on their response, I had to revisit the lesson. This time around, what I asked them to do was to compare themselves, okay, to compare themselves or to compare themselves with unidentical objects or things. So when I did that uh, through the peer grouping, it worked.
Okay, my very last question. Then, Mr. O, I'm done. What are some of the things, how do you prepare your lesson? And what are some of the things you consider when you are preparing your lesson?
Okay, I consider the topic I'm about to teach, then my objectives, then the duration of the lesson, then I also consider the age of my students.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ofori, we are Mr. Boat, do you have any question for Madam Pearl?
Madame Asafo, do you have any question for us?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is, what do you do to be able to inculcate new teachers into your system? What help do you offer them?
All right. In our school, we have a community. We have sense of belongingness. Everybody is each other's keeper. When you come in as a new teacher, we have mentors that will assign to you. The mentor will guide you. The mentor will make sure you are very okay. You have a good start. So in our school, you will never see whether this person is a new teacher or not. The only thing is that you will see that this person has a mentor and this is a mentee. Other than that, you won't be able to see whether this is a new teacher or not. And we don't also discriminate whether you're African, American, we are all one. So you are welcome. You wouldn't have any problem with that aspect.
Okay. And I also want to find out what new things or what form of training do you have for me to be able to to teach within my first year to gain ground?
All right, let me take that.
Okay.
Okay.
We know that you are coming in from a different country. So every logistic that you need will be provided to the best of our ability. You're going to have the support, as Mr. Booth said, of teachers and administrators alike. You're going to have softwares that will guide you, that you're going to use. We will not leave you alone in the classroom to, swim the sword. Once you come in, we have supports that will keep you through. There are professional development sections. You'll be assigned to a mentor. You'll be assigned to a group. There will be observations. Administrators will be coming to your room with a mindset of supporting you, not judging you. So with these, you should be able to go through it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Madam Asafo, thank you so much for your time. We will not take too much of your time. And if we reach a decision, we will definitely get back to you. Thank you so
Thank,
much for having this interview with us.
thank you very much.
All right. All right, people. So Madame Asafo is done with us, and we have our next candidate that we want to take real quick. He's in the person of Mr. Samuel Ansa, and we would like to add him to the stream really quick. Mr. Samuel, welcome to Mr. O High School.
Thank you, Sir, and your panelists. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here for this principal session.
All right. My name is Mr. O. I'm the principal, and I have with me the assistant principal, Mr. Boatin, and also Mr. Ofori. And I will let Mr. Ofori begin this session, and he's going to ask you some few questions. And what job did you apply for again? Which position did you apply for?
Mathematics, high school mathematics.
Good. Good. So I'll let Mr. Ofori start. He's the head of the mathematics department, so he's going to start with you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Ofori, you can take it from here.
Mr. Asafo, right? I hope you are good. Mr. Asafo, I hope you are good.
Yes, please, sir. I'm doing
All
great.
right. Mr. Asafo, please tell us about yourself.
All right. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. I am Samuel Ansa Sekum, hailing from the Sahrain country of Ghana. I am a dedicated mathematics teacher with 7+ years of teaching experience, 3 years in the middle high school, and 4 years now in the senior high school. I am called by my students and colleagues Mr. Algebra. This is because I have the passion to teach mathematics. Thank you very much.
Okay. I would want you to arrange these three things in order of preference and state why you arranged it in that order.
All right, sir.
Classroom management, content knowledge, and student rapport.
Sir, please, may I take a minute to write?
Oh yeah, you can. Won't a minute be too much for you?
A second.
All right, I got you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. In order of preference, student rapport first, then classroom management would follow, content, and then classroom management follow next. For student rapport, this is because as a teacher, welcoming my students for the new beginning academic year, I need to establish that rapport so that my students will be able to know what I like and what I don't like. And also try to establish a social contract with my students, what will be expected from them and what they should also expect from me. And then classroom management. Classroom management is very, very important because as a teacher, as I've gone through the rigorous training and skills I've acquired, I may have the content, but if I do not have the ability to manage my class very well, I may not have a successful lesson. Then thirdly, the content knowledge.
Okay. How do you differentiate your lesson?
All right, thank you very much, sir. For instance, I was teaching a topic, angles, that is on geometry. And since there are diverse students in my class, after teaching the lesson, and then in the course of the teaching, in the course of my delivery, I issue out a formative assessment to know whether my students are following or they are on track with what I am delivering, I am teaching. I realized that some of the students did understood the content of the lesson, and some of them couldn't. So quickly, from that data I had, I was able to move the class from the student, move the class outside. And then we have, in my school, we have a tree. We have trees in my school. So what I did was I went to the tree and then I started the whole lesson again by defining what angles are. And as my students already knew the definition for angles, they brought out the definition. And then I explained to them that using the tree, the stem of the tree with its branches, we realized that there are branches leading to different direction. So wherever that a branch is diverging from the stem, that
Was
space in
this
between.
done? Did you do this with all the students?
No, please. I gave exercises to those who understood the lesson whilst I was teaching, and those who didn't, I moved them out so that those in the classroom would not be disturbed. They would be engaged in the task. But those who didn't, I moved them out. So when they grasped the concept of what I was delivering in the classroom, the topic, angles, then we went back to the classroom, and then I gave an exercise varying depending on their abilities. And then amazingly, they all understood and achieved. I was so amazed to achieve 100% for that day.
Okay. That's wonderful. How do you handle a difficult student?
Thank you very much, sir. I do have an experience. In one of my lessons, whilst I was teaching, one of the students broke the classroom rule, one of the classroom rules, by touching his fellow student. For such a situation, what I did was I changed his sitting position and I brought him forward so that I can have a keen eye on whatever is going on in the classroom. And also, I encountered a student who nearly slapped me because he was bullying a junior. When that happened, when he made the attempt, I was able to shield off the act, and then I left the student and reported to the school authority, the principal of my school.
Okay, so the mathematics part of it.
Pardon me, sir.
The mathematics part of it. How do you plan your lesson?
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Before I plan my lesson as a teacher, I prepare for the day and for the week. So I study and research to find best teaching strategies and methods that will help my students, and also engaging activities that will also entice them to cope along with my lesson. I do also in my preparation as well. I also have what I'm expected from the student and what the student should be expecting from me in my lesson. And I also include the assessment. That is, I use the formative assessment. For the formative assessment, I also make room or provision while the lesson is ongoing. I do have some short quizzes, tests, some tests, oral tests being oral, and then inquiry based to also grasp their understanding for the lesson. That is for the formative. And I also make provision out of the example that has been given to them so that by the end of the academic year, I'll be able to set questions for my formative assessment, summative assessment also. And I also make provision in my plan where I also reflect in case if the lesson didn't go well, my students, I will revisit and then to see the percentage of students who couldn't grasp the concept, and then I reteach.
Okay. For now, I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fori. And Mr. Watson, do you want to come in?
Yeah. Mr. Anson, how are you doing?
Yes, sir. By Almighty grace, I am doing great.
All right. Good to have you. We can't wait to have you as a member of our faculty, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. How is your typical classroom like? You're a math teacher, and math teachers, we know, students generally don't like math. How is your typical classroom like? Let's say you walk into the classroom or the kids come to meet you in the classroom. how is your lesson going to progress from where? What? How is your typical classroom lesson looks like? Can you take us through?
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, before the commencement of my lesson, I stand by the doorway to wait for my students to welcome them with cheerful smile, with smiles. And as they walk into the classroom, they sit. I prepare by carrying, if let's say for instance, I'm going to treat topic like cycle, I carry charts that I've drawn, shapes on circles, and then vocabulary charts as well, certain keywords that they need to understand also, and the instrument I'm going to use all set in my classroom. Then after that, I put out the objective, what we'll be doing for the day, and then the exercises. They will be tasks to do while the lesson is ongoing and after the lesson also.
So after teaching, if let's say you give an assessment and some students did not get what you were expecting them to have gotten, and some also got more than even what you anticipated, what do you do for these two group of students that you have, those who did not get and those who had more than you were expecting? It means like those who were successful basically and those who were not successful. What do you do for these two groups of students?
Thank you, sir. It depends on the percentage of students who understood and those who didn't understand. What I normally do is that if the majority of students,
let me come in. Let's say you have a class of 20 students and 5 got what you wanted to teach, 15 did not get what you wanted them to understand or you wanted them to learn. What do you do for the 5? Or what do you do to them? What do you do to the 15 that did not get?
what I do for the 5, I normally increase the number of assessment engaging tasks so that as they are being engaged, and then I shift my attention to those who didn't. Since the 15 are many who didn't understand the concept, I reteach them. I sometimes engage in remedial teaching for those students. If there's a need, I schedule after the lesson, and make sure I engage them so that I can reteach the whole topic. So that when they understand, they're able to catch up with those who have already understood.
All right. Is it that you are going to increase the number of questions for those who got it, or you are going to give them more challenging work to do? Is it about the number, or is it about you letting them learn more?
I increase the level of the question, more challenging.
The level of difficulty.
Yes, please, sir.
All right.
Sir, please, I'm unable to hear you. It seems your mic is off.
Sorry. I said, what will I see when I come into your classroom?
When you walk into my classroom, you will see how I've designed the sitting arrangement for my students. I normally arrange them based on based on certain key terms in the mathematics discipline. For instance, I use geometry to arrange my class setting for my students so that I'll be able to have a keen eye on the class. I arrange them in a terrace form. Sometimes I use the vertically opposite angle so that one in the middle, then we have branches, two branches, the equator than sign mode in that desk. Also, you see chart of whatever I am teaching for the day in the classroom hung on the wall of the classroom. And then you see my teaching learning materials as well, including my laptop and then the calculators of my students.
All right.
The classroom management rules and then yeah.
All right. Quick one. When it comes to our school, every student has a device, an IT device. Every student has a Chromebook, which has access to Wi-Fi within the building. How or what are some of the technologies that you have been using and you plan using, continue using in your teaching?
All right. For now, I use my laptop and I'm able to gather videos. And when I get to the classroom, I plug and play certain videos so that my students will be able to see formulas, shapes, 3D shapes that relate in real life situations to them. And for the calculator, for instance, if we are treating topic, let's say I was treating topic, for instance, I was teaching recurring decimals and then terminating and non-terminating. So I taught my students how to use the calculator to know which number is recurring. So we punch, I asked them to punch, they should find the square root of 2, which is a prime number. Then when they punch, they realized that the square root of 2 was non-terminating, it was recurring in that order. And also I use PowerPoint as well to present presenting my lesson as well.
You may come in. I'll come back at the closing stages for one question before you go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Samuel Ansah. My only question I want to ask you this evening is very simple. How do you interact with parents of students in your classroom?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have an experience. If I'll be allowed to share. First of all, at the beginning of the semester, let's say when school resumes and then my students are about to come, I call to introduce myself to the parent. When they come, I introduce myself to the parent that I'm the math teacher for this academic year, and then I assure them their wards are in safe hand. Afterwards, and normally, what I normally do is that I have the student in my class who is very slow in learning. I devote much attention to such a student. I realized that the student was performing. So I call the parent to inform the parent that, student A was performing very well in class. And I'm encouraging them so that when she comes home, they must try as much as possible to inspire her to do more, because there is a lot in her that she can bring out in her academic lesson. And at times, we do have a general meeting once every academic year. That's PTA. During the parent-teacher meeting, I meet parents and then I inform them how their children, their works are faring in the classroom in terms of their academics. Give good news and positive response to the parent. I send text message at times to some, not all the parents, but to some parents who are able to reply, read, who have time for text message. Some are not able to pick phones. They do messaging, so I do send messages through text message and then emails. Others do, I use the phone call approach. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Ansah. God bless you. And I think we are done with you this evening. If we made a decision, one of our principals will reach out to you by email. All right. Thank you so
All right,
much.
sir. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can go ahead.
My first question is I would like to know the student to teacher ratio in the United States school system. And secondly, with the diversity in terms of culture in the United States, I would like to know what are some of the difficulties, the challenges as a new as an international teacher coming there. What are some of the challenges I'm going to face, and then how do people in my position overcome some of those challenges?
All right. So for the teacher to student ratio, it depends on the class you are teaching and depends on the level you are teaching. But we try our best not to do beyond at least 25. So you may have at least 25 students in your classroom currently. For the math, I think if the math head of department was here, maybe he would have thrown more light on it. And we normally have an average of 25 students. So that is what you'll be dealing with for the meantime when you come in. But I believe if we have a spillover, definitely there'll be a communication, there'll be arrangements for how you can deal with it. Right? I think I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Was there another question you asked?
Yes, please. I asked the cultural diversity, teachers like me, myself, in my position, how did they overcome some of the challenges they met in the United States? What are some of the...
Okay, I think a lot of the teachers, we've had only one teacher from Africa in our school so far. So if you go through and you come in, you'll be the second person, and he's been doing wonderful. I mean, there is a support system in our school. We have our PLCs, our math coaches are all helpful. Your head of department is a first point of call, and other teachers are always ready to provide the needed help, so long as you are ready to ask anyone. So we have a very, nice culture, working culture with all our teachers. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. All right. If we don't have any question from any of that teacher, would like to take a leave of you, and you are free to go. Okay.
All right.
Have a blessed evening.
Same to you, and I hope to meet you guys soon. Bye bye.
All right. Bye. All right. My fellow principals. So we have two people, and I believe we can do a quick assessment and of what things are before, if we want to bring another candidate for maybe some few questions, then we can go ahead. But I'll start with Mr. Ofori. What do you think? How did he perform?
How did who perform?
The math teacher that we had right now.
He started nicely. In fact, I love the way he arranged the three questions: the students rapport, classroom management, and then the content knowledge. But as he was moving on, he was deviating from the questions. For example, differentiation.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate your lesson? You know, he should first build the idea that he understands there are three major learning abilities in the class: the high achievers, medium, and then the low achievers. And in his teaching, he should tell us how he's going to attend to the needs of every group of them. That was why I asked whether he took all the students out of the class. Then there's a question that both of them did not get right with me. Example, the question is, how do you prepare your lesson? I understand that they will look at the objective, the timing, but the major things are just three.
Yeah.
They need to specifically tell us what they are going to teach. I'm preparing. How I'm going to teach it, that is the methodology and then the strategy. And then how I will know that the students understand what I'm teaching, that is the assessment. And then maybe elaborate on that. So these are some of the things I think would be helpful if they get to know in preparing for the journey. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Watson, do you want to add something? What has been your observation, and what do you think they did right? What did you think they did wrong?
Mr. O, thank you for giving me this opportunity. In the first place, they did well. At least they came up trying to do what they are supposed to do. So they did something which is to their best of ability.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding, there are certain things that if you are asked, as Mr. Ofori said, you should go straight to the point, because how do you differentiate your lesson? You don't teach the lesson and assess and see whether some of them did understood what you taught or some did not before you try to re-strategize. That is remedial teaching. We are talking about in your class. How do you differentiate? How do you make sure every learner is learning in your classroom? That is differentiation. So it should be from the word go. It is not about after I had finished. Then again, I asked a question which he clarified. If you teach a lesson and some are successful, you don't give them more questions. You give them more challenging questions for them to apply what they have learned. Then you go remedial teaching, station rotation, or one-on-one, small group for those you think. And even in your lesson, if you had differentiated, you would have known that these are cases that I need to station rotate them. I need to do small group instruction. I need to do one-on-one. You wouldn't finish before you come back and do A, B, C, or D. Then again, I asked a question, when I come to your classroom, what will I see? The things on the wall, they are nothing. The posters, they are nothing. If you really even talked about the data from previous assessment, then somebody gets to your classroom, the person will see that in your class, this number of cases are in yellow, these are in green, these are in red. That would have been better than saying I have geometry posters, I have sitting arrangement. Obviously, there will be sitting arrangement. And again, every teacher, when an observer or evaluator comes to your class, it's either you are teaching, the kids are doing an activity, and you are going around to assist students who are having difficulty. These are the things they expect to see from you. They don't want to see you say, I have my laptop, they gave you the laptop, they know what, obviously you use the laptop. Yeah. And again, technology in our part of the world, which is Ghana, we will say we don't have technology, but they expect you to at least know something about the technology before you come. So it's not about you doing division where you have non-terminating, non-recurring decimals. We can use long division and get this, which is pi, 22/7. You divide with long division and you continue to get non-terminating, non-recurring, non-repeating decimal. Calculator has nothing to do with that. You can say you can use the calculator for graphing. So you need not to be using pencil paper every day for graphing. There are other activities you can use the device to engage the case. There are so many softwares online that are engaging. Edpuzzle, Nearpod, Khan Academy, a whole lot of them. GeoGebra for Mr. Geometry, Mr. The one we spoke to, the math teacher. GeoGebra, geometry. Then Desmos for algebra, for geometry, like basically everything. So that's what they want to hear. They want to know, principals want to know that you can use the technology. It's not about the kids having the device and their duty is only type 2/2 and say it's 1, it's terminating. It's not like that. They expect you to go further, letting them know that when you are given the opportunity, you'll be able to deliver. Though they have professional learning community, PLC, professional, whatever, but from the word go, you come into your classroom, you are given like a week and the case comes in. Within the week, everybody is planning to set up the classroom. There will be this development, there will be this. But you should be in a position to just at least get into the system whilst you learn more things along the line. So they did well coming out. They did well coming out. And some of them, I don't have anything to do with English. So what the lady was saying, I just took it as a normal classroom setting thing. But for the math, I have a background a little bit in math. So I was just trying to understand. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
they
for
have
your
to make sure that when they are speaking, they are so enthused and they speak in a way that the principals will be able to, with confidence for the principals to know that, hey, you are going to deal with this confident kids who say things that they want anyhow. So how are you going to be so calm? No, the kids will run over you. So they should be confident.
All right. I think that is one of the first observation I made from the two candidates. They were not enthusiastic enough. They were not confident enough. So this year, some of the teachers who applied to FACES didn't get interviews because that was one of the reasons why they didn't get interviews from the prince. They didn't even get placed in the school. When their videos were sent, there was no enthusiasm. There was no energy to the video. They were very dull. Their accents were just all over the place. So they placed most of those ones in the background. They archived their applications. So this year, it is one of the things the principals will look for. They want the energy. So the math participant and the English teacher who came, please, I want you to work on your confidence level and your maintain eye contact. I mean, you guys did well in doing that. Maintain eye contact with the interview panel. Then also make sure you don't wander your eyes about. Okay. And when the question is asked, this is not the time for you to be thinking, because I saw in one of the answers, that is one thing that he did. And I realized that some of the examples he was giving were not aligned with the questions he was being asked. And with Madame Asafo, I realized that I wrote here that most of her questions, she answered them well, but with no examples. With no examples. Unless she's probed before she will give an example. But as I said yesterday, for every question, make sure you have a predetermined example to be given. The example doesn't need to have happened, but as a teacher, as a professional teacher, you would have, encountered that situation before, so you know what to do in every situation. So I told you, if it's about classroom management, if it's about class disruption and student interaction, have an example for each. Oh, for instance, yesterday when I was teaching algebra, this student did this, and this is what I did. For example, a parent who was angry came to my class, and this is what I did. For example, a parent sent me an email. This is how I handled it. all of them, you should be able to answer and give an example. Answer and give. It enriches your presentation to the panel. And that can also enhance your chances of being employed or being given the position, because they have about 10,000 or 1,000 people who have applied. One of the agencies that I had yesterday, they have about 3,000 applications already in their portals, and they don't know who to pick and who not to pick. So they will be using elimination by rough touches. You guys know that already. It's our African term. They will have to put in things in place that will definitely fall some of you off the radar. Then those who are fully prepared and those who are confident, then they will go forward. So I thank you all, and I believe there is another candidate who have been waiting. I don't know if we can spare about 25 minutes and just handle her, and let's see how she also performs. And Madame Amina, I'll be adding you to the principal portal, and we have another principal joining us all the way from Texas, Miss Z, and she will begin the questioning with you. Since you are a female, we have a female principal who will begin with you. So, Madam Amina, I want to add you real quick. Can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Good, good. Good evening to you. Please, what do you teach, or what did you apply for?
I'm a general teacher. I teach all the subjects in the elementary, basic 4.
At the elementary level. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So I'll let
teacher.
Madam Z. Okay, I'll let Madam Z begin the questioning, and she is one of our assistant principals here, and she will answer first 2 questions or whatever question she has. Then we begin. All right.
Okay.
All right. Madam Z, please, you can go ahead. If you want to put your video on. Yes, she can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm actually driving right now because I'm just stuck in traffic. So welcome to the platform. The question that I have for you as an elementary school teacher, how do you actually make every single one of your students feel safe in the classroom? How do you make them feel welcome and safe?
Hello. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And good evening to you all. My name is Miss Amina Ali. I've been teaching for the past 13 years now. I have Master of Arts in Educational Leadership, Bachelor in Education, and Diploma in Basic Education from St. Teresa's Training College. Thank you for this question. Actually, most of the time, before my lesson began, I make the students introduce themselves. We crack jokes, we laugh, and then before I introduce my topic to them. So I make them welcome by bringing out a very short story that will boost their interest into the topic I'm coming to teach to get their concepts. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that answer. I did like what you said. Thank you for giving us a little brief detail about who you are. But let's say we have this scenario. You have a 5-year-old that comes into the classroom. She's really scared. She doesn't know if her friends are gonna like her. How do you make that student feel welcome? How do you make them feel safe? Because at that point they don't feel safe. They're a little bit scared. The question that I want to know is how would you make them feel safe?
Pardon?
Okay, so
Hello, please, can you repeat the question again?
Yes, so you have a 5-year-old that just started class. They came in a little bit late compared to their mate, and they seem a little bit scared and intimidated by everybody else. So how do you make them feel safe and welcome to your classroom? Because safeguarding is one of the main things. For me, it's the first thing for a teacher to make sure that every single student feels safe in the environment that they are learning in. So what will you do to make that kid feel very safe?
I first of all welcome the child and then go near the child to see the reason of his or her lateness. Then I crack jokes with the child before bringing the child into the learning activity for the day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that answer. That will be all for me.
All right, Ms. Z, thank you so much. And we appreciate your time with us real quick. And Mr. Boat, do you want to join in, or Mr. Puri, do you want to start this session? Your mic is off. Okay.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
Yes.
If a student reports to you as a teacher of harming him or herself or harming somebody, what will you do as a teacher?
Thank you very much. I go one-on-one with the student to find out the reason and the cause of why he or she has harmed somebody or himself. Then I look at the degree of injury the student gets before taking a decision to go to the headmaster or the principal to take a decision or to make a decision on sending the child to the clinic or the hospital. With the permission of the headmaster, we call the parents to inform them of the incident, get their approval before taking the child to the hospital or giving him first aid. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so in a classroom setting, how do you differentiate your lesson?
Thank you very much. In every classroom, you find three types of students: the slow learners, the average learners, and the high learners. With this, you make sure you draw your lesson to meet the needs of each of the students. You choose a methodology that will be suitable so as to get the concept and help the pupils or the learners to get the concept of your delivery. Example, there is a time I was teaching broadleaf, a topic in
Let me
science
understand you.
about
Let me understand you. Are you the one doing it or you are telling someone else to do it?
the children, and I are the ones doing it. Most of the time, I involve the children much into my teaching and learning activities by distributing some of the teaching and learning activities, teaching and learning materials to them to manipulate. So I go around helping them to come out with the solutions and the concept of the topic that I want them, the student, to get.
Yeah, go ahead. How do you differentiate your lesson?
So by doing that, I move around to guide the students by looking at the progress they are making in the course of the learning. So I move around to guide them and then assign the more difficult tasks to the high achievers and then the simple tasks to the middle and the low achievers by giving equal attention to each and every student in the course of the lesson. Thank you.
Mr. Wood, take over. I'll come again.
Miss Amina, welcome.
Thank you.
You are an elementary school teacher, and in your class, an incident happens. And you forget to report to your principal. And the child goes home and tells the parent that today this happened, A, B, C, D happened in classroom. And I told my teacher. And the parent comes to the school, comes to the principal and said, my child said this is what is going on in her classroom or his classroom. And you are invited to a parent-teacher conference. and your principal asks you or put a question to you, this is what a parent is saying. What do you have to say? What will be your response? Why didn't you report? Why didn't you inform the parent? What will be your response?
Thank you very much. I will first of all apologize to my principal and the parents, and then I will explain the situation to my headmaster, as in I try the ways and measures I put to try and solve the situation in my own way. So I will just apologize to him and tell him that I wanted to do it my own way. When I'm not able to get it done before I'll be able to report to him. But unfortunately, I was not able to involve him in the first place, and it goes that way. So I will just render my sincere apology to both the teacher, the parent, and my principal. Thank you.
Miss Amina, in your typical classroom, let's say you are teaching these kids grade 3, grade 4, an activity, and they seem not to get. And one student stand up and said, "You are the worst teacher in my life I've ever seen. You are the worst teacher. Your classroom is too boring. I don't see why I'm even in this classroom." What will be your reaction?
I'll be very friendly towards that child. I will just go to the child and look at what made him to make the statement. Then I'll come back and analyze myself very well, prepare myself very well, and look at my weaknesses so as to improve on it to be able to impress the students in my next lesson. Thank you.
Mr. O, you may come.
Okay, let me come in again. Miss Amina.
Hello.
What different thing are you bringing on board to our school?
Since this is a culture exchange program, I think I'm bringing the different culture in my country on board, and then learning other cultures in the school. I will bring new things like involve and inculcate the experiences that I have in my 13 years of teaching, and I will make sure I blend it with the current strategies they are using in my new school, so as to introduce my culture and bring my culture on board to my new school. Thank you.
Okay. Give me 3 ways you use to manage student behavior in your classroom once you are teaching elementary school.
Thank you for this question. Normally, in the beginning of the term, I gather my students and we make classroom rules and regulations. So I made them to write their rules, their regulations, the do's and the don'ts in the class. So whenever there is a problem or whenever there is a problem in the class, the student or the child will already know the type of punishment he or she will be given as and when.
Let me get it clear. Did you say that the children will write their classroom rules and regulations?
No, I help the student to come out with the classroom rules and regulations for the term. We draw it together, then we paste it in the classroom. So whenever something happens, I refer the student to the rules and regulations. Then
What
we
do you
go
refer
according
to
to
as
it.
regulations?
Regulations are the limit to which things will be done in my classrooms,
Such as?
such as maybe talking in the classroom, fighting in the classroom, with its consequences, punishment, stealing in the classroom, etc.
Okay, so that is one. Other two things that you do to manage the classroom.
Pardon?
I'm saying that the rules and regulations you're talking about is one. What are the other things that you do, two more things that you do to manage the classroom?
Yeah, thank you. I make sure whenever I'm coming to the class, I'm very much prepared, abreast with the topic I'm coming to teach, so as to boost the interest of the student to participate in the teaching and learning process. Whenever there is a destructive behavior or something in the class, I make sure I check my environment to see what is causing the destructive behavior and try to manage it by going towards the problem and solving it within the limit. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fori. Madame Amina, I want to
Hello.
ask you these few questions. I want to go back to one of the questions one of our principals asked you. Number one, how safe is your classroom? As an elementary teacher, we know you have a lot of kids from different backgrounds, different abilities, and different behavior patterns. How safe is your class?
My classroom is safe in such a way that we don't display items that will be reachable to the children for them to go and harm themselves. We arrange the seating arrangement to suit each and every learner. Most of the time, I hang most of my teaching and learning materials so as the ones that I think will be harmful to the students, I guide them before we use it. Thank you.
Okay, because in the United States, your class safety is one of the top things every school puts in place. So if your class is not safe, a child will not feel comfortable coming to your class. So we needed to be sure that your class is a safe place for children. All right.
Thank you.
Another follow-up question that I want to ask is the student disrespecting you. So one of our principals asked you if a student gets up, because the students you are coming to meet are not timid. They are very confident. They speak their minds. They can stand up to you if they feel disrespected or anything. How will you handle the child that gets up, as Mr. Booth asked you, and tell you your class is boring? I mean, I don't feel like being here. I don't like you. You're not a good teacher. In the moment, how will you handle that?
In that moment, I'll have a talk with the child one on one by calling or going to him or her to find out what the problem is or what I did to cause that behavior he has put in up in a friendly manner that the child will not feel unsafe in my classroom. Thank you.
All right. One question I want to ask you personally is this. You have children. If you have one child that is a bully in your class that keeps speaking on other students, how will you handle such a child?
Thank you. Such a child, I'll bring him closer to me in the classroom so that I can manage him with my eye on him all the time. I'll make sure that all the time I engage him in tasks or I give him something to do in the class by posing questions to him so that I can bring his attention into the learning to stop him from bullying other students. Thank you.
All right, Madame Amina, thank you so much for that answer. I don't know if anybody have a follow-up question for our teacher. Please, you can come in. Any of the principals? Madam Z, Mr. Boats, Mr.
Madam
Fori?
Amina, do you have any question for
Yes,
us?
yes.
Mhm.
Please, my question is, I would like to know what plans will you people put in place for us when we come, as in giving us in-service training before we start our teaching.
All right. For that, for every school, in fact, in our school, we have systems in place where new teachers are taken through an initial teacher program where you are, exposed to all the policies of the district, the policies of the school, and what we do and what we don't do as a teacher, your responsibilities and your rights, and your working culture and everything, dress code and everything. So we have a program in place that has been in place for a long time, which we'll be able to initiate you into. And through that, you should be able to handle every class that you are given confidently. And again, we have your head of department, the coaches in every subject area that are always available, and our counselors are always available to help you with anything that you don't understand. So you have to feel free and talk to us anytime you have a challenge.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is that the
That's
only
all.
question you want to ask
Yes,
us?
that's all.
All right. If there's no further question, I want to thank you this evening for your time. We appreciate your time so much. And if we make a decision, we'll send you an email maybe by next week. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fellas, thank you so much for this time. I know it's a crunchy time. We've eaten into our time a lot, but I think it's a learning process and we are all learning. And as we keep saying it, for every candidate who sits here and every question that we ask them, it's a learning step for you who are watching and listening to also be putting down your notes. I have been putting down a lot of notes, a lot of comments, which from time going we'll be sharing with you. So I want us to give our closing remarks for today's session, and we'll make time again. If my principals have time, we'll come again and join you. So please, the floor is yours. Anyone want to make a comment, any observations from our last candidate?
You see, we still have to let them understand that they need to put in a lot of confidence. I mean, you've taught for 13 years. You have to speak boldly. You have to speak blasting the speakers.
Mm.
Again, questions need to be answered with the mindset of I do, not you or I will. The question is, how do you differentiate your lesson? I do this and that and that and that. How do you plan your lesson? I do this. It should be something you do, you've been doing every day. How do you handle a student misbehavior? I do this and that and that and that and that. I mean, let it be, let the feel of you always practicing what you are saying be there. Um, you should understand that principals have dealt with interviews for so many years. So if it is something you are creating, they know. If it is something you are just reciting, we are aware. So come naturally And then always they should try as much as possible to add an instance, add examples, add happenings in classroom to their answers, so that if even I don't understand you very well, I would be able to take the example you are citing to mark or to use as my yardstick. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fori. Mr. Boat, any observations, any comments?
Yeah, quick one. Once again, we really appreciate them coming for availing themselves for us to ask them questions. It's not everybody. I went to the comment section. I could see like 70 comments. Everybody watching, but how many of them were able to avail themselves to be quizzed or asked questions about? So we thank her for coming. But as an elementary school teacher in America, your job is very key. Very, very, very key. And nothing, under no circumstance, should something happen and you think you are going to solve it in your own way. No. You'll lose your job there and then.
Yeah.
For example, we asked a question, if something happens, like somebody stabs somebody, what are you going to say? You said you are going to look at the magnitude of the incident before you do this. No. Whether it's as little as an ant, first thing, you call the front office, the principal, the assistant principal, the admin, the school nurse. You send an email to the parent. You copy the principal. You have done your part. But how can you solve it in your own way in America? Which one is your own way? You cannot. And again, I asked if a student, a child, say, you are you are going to call the kid and talk to a kid who is disrespecting you, who is saying you are boring. How are you going to call the child and speak to her? Your classroom management procedure. No, I'm not taking none of this. You call them, they come and pick the child out. How can you talk to a child, a 7-year-old boy, girl, 8-year-old? If she listens, do you think she'll be saying you are boring, you are the worst teacher? No. You cannot talk to such kids. You let them go and relax. They come back tomorrow they'll come back tomorrow and they'll pretend as if nothing happened yesterday. Let them go. When they come back, you can pass a general comment. You can call her in different instances. It shouldn't be there and then. The moment you try to engage that student, at that moment, that student is going to disrespect you. You will never forget. Don't engage. Let her say whatever she wants. Let the admins come get that student. Once again, confidence is very key. And we don't speak American English. Therefore, examples, instances should be the way we are explaining things. As Mr. Ofori said, give instances. I'll do this, or I did this. This is what I've been doing. This is what I do. This is what I did. This is what I'm going to do. Don't try to explain yourself, because in the first place, they don't even understand the way what words that we said. Some of the principals, they'll be looking at you, they'll be like, in their mind, they'll be asking, what did he say? What did she say? But they will not embarrass you and say, can you come again? They will pretend as if they heard you, but they didn't hear. But the moment you use an example, they will understand. They will then come in and say, yeah, okay, that's it. So always try to explain yourself with an example. All right, that's all about that. We thank them for coming. We thank them for availing themselves, and we look forward for better opportunities for them. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Boateng. Thank you. I really, really appreciate your time as well. I know I have taken all of your time. You have a lot of things to do. You are busy, but I really appreciate this time because I believe this is one of the ways that we can get our people ready because the confidence of the agencies are increasing in African teachers. So I believe if we put our right foot forward, it's a plus for everybody. It's a win-win for us. But if you come in unprepared, you are not ready, that will be a difficult task for you because once you start on that note, the whole year is going to mess for you. But I believe if you are confident, as we are all saying, because I was making those comments here when the question of safety was asked. Madame Amina was not really, because when we talk about safety, we talk about psychological safety, physical safety, and all the safeties that you can learn in your education. That child will tell you, I am from the alphabet community and I feel threatened in your class. Even your examples you give to some of the things you teach can threaten that child. And that child will not feel safety in your class, will not feel safe. A child may be threatened by the presence of another student whom he has had a fight with, maybe during lunch. So all these things is something they consider so dearly. They are very particular about it. So when we talk about safety in for instance, in your classroom, you cannot leave your students unattended to. Anytime, any day, you cannot leave your students unattended to. You cannot use certain examples, you cannot use certain words, you cannot beat your students, you cannot lay hands on any of them. And if any of them feel threatened by any other body in the classroom, you have to take a step and report immediately. Mr. Fori asked a question. If a student threatens to commit suicide or a student threatens to harm him or herself, how will you handle it? The first thing, one of the first thing in every situation you do is to call the administration or report that student to the counselor. Every student have a counselor in our school. Yes, in American schools, every student is assigned a counselor, and these are not counselors that are just advisors. No, these are trained psychologists, qualified psychologists. They have their qualifications. They are certified by the American Psychology Association and everything, and they are assigned to these schools. So you may have students, maybe all the grade 9 students have a particular counselor they talk to. All grade 10 students have a particular counselor. So they can be assigned to even by levels, maybe the juniors, the seniors, or even by the courses they take. And the first thing you have to do is to inform someone in authority, either the assistant principal, your HOD, or the principal, or the counselor, or sometimes even the school SROs, the resource personnel, the police that has been assigned to the school. You immediately inform somebody. You don't handle anything by yourself. In the North American countries, you don't handle anything as a teacher. The first thing, a student threatens you, a student disrespects you, a student threatens to harm another student, you inform somebody in authority. Whatever you do as a teacher may come back and harm you, or maybe it may cause you to lose your job. So that is one thing I want to put out there. Never use examples like I'll handle it myself and I'll apologize to the parent or I'll apologize to the principal. No, that is a no-no. You have to find ways and means to immediately tell someone in authority before that student even leaves your class. First of all, you will not even allow that student to leave your class when there is transition. Okay? But if you are teaching like an elementary school, you first of all call for the front office to come and pick that child into safety before you even continue your lessons. If they communicate threat, you have to call the front office. If they communicate any form of anything that you think they will harm themselves, you have to inform the administration immediately. Okay, so these are some of the things we are learning. I also wrote there, what do you bring on board? One of the questions Mr. Fori asked is one crucial question. That is a question where you have to, blow your trumpet. You are telling us what you are bringing on board. What are your qualities? What do you think that you are so special that we should give you that job and not to the next candidate? That is what we want you to tell us. I am confident, I am fair and firm, I am this, I am that. Use all the best adjectives that can describe you. That question can also be asked in a different way. What will your students say about you? Or what will your students say you are to them? The questions we asked you can be asked in so many different formats. It is about you understanding it and using your educational background and your training to answer those questions intelligently. Okay, so what we are doing, and please make sure you understand, this is not a principal or a school interview. This is Mr. Old School. It is not existing anywhere. So this interview is a mock, a preparatory one to help you prepare for the real one. So when you get to the real one, you have at least gone through the stress, so you relax yourself. We saw that the 3 candidates that came today, most of them were tensioned a little bit. They were not focused. They were wavering. Their minds were a little bit. So we want you to go and build up your confidence. Please go and, let your child be asking you the questions and look into the mirror and speak to yourself. Record yourself on video and play it back. That is how you build a confidence. There is no other way. There is no magic way to do that. And the questions, please let your educational background and your trainings come into play. Let them know that you know what you are doing. Okay, so that is what I'll say. I don't know if Ms. Z wants to add something. You can also tell us what you think, Ms. Z.
Okay, thank you for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. I finally got home. So one thing that I want to add to the teachers, you've said everything. We need that energy, right? Because your teaching has to be about your personality. We want to see your personality come through. If you're somebody that is, always excited and everything, when they ask you a question, we want you to be excited. We don't want you to feel like, oh my God, I need to get this right or wrong. Just be excited, be relaxed, and everything else will flow. The question about culture in the classroom is one of the questions that they use a lot because of this country being multicultural. What I would say is that when they talk about culture, they're talking about inclusion. How do you make every student feel included, not like they're excluded? Because sometimes you might go to a school, you're teaching there, and there's a lot of segregation in America. It could be 90% black and you have 2 white students in the classroom. How do you make them not feel white among black people? And safeguarding, obviously. I would say one thing that you need to talk about and say is, I have my classroom routines. Having that routine and making sure that there's consistency, it's all part of the culture of the classroom. So like behavior, the sanctions, you have to be firm and fair. You have to make sure that every student knows that you have their back. Let's say Peter is always picking up on Jack. You have to tell Peter, I don't want to see that no more. That's it. It doesn't matter who it is, you have their back all the time. You have to make sure students also communicate among themselves. So in your classroom, there's no rivalry like, hey, this task today, we're actually going to hold hands. We're all going to hold hands. We're going to stand in the circle. We can do a circle of trust. Okay? That's why we are talking about culture. What culture do we expect to see when we walk into your classroom? Humility, respect among students, and between the student and the teachers. So that's one of the things that I would say when they say culture, they're talking about that routine, like if you do the same thing all the time, your students will know what to expect. They walk through the door. What do? Do you say good morning every day? Do you pass them a paper? Do they get a pencil? Do they know where to get everything from? That's all part of the culture of the classroom. Okay, so there's nothing about bringing one student and making them feel confident. You can talk to that student, but every other student in the classroom might never talk to them. So therefore, they will never feel included and safe. So that's just one thing that I wanted to talk about, like making sure that your classroom is like your house. When you have your children, every child feels like this is our house, right? There's none that is like, oh, this is you guys' house and I'm just passing. Something like that. They have to be like, this is our classroom. We respect it. We respect our teacher and we respect ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. D. And I want to thank everyone. I know I put all of you on the spot. I have to pick you from different places. Some are driving, some were fixing cars, some were sleeping. Please, I apologize for this, but I believe this is just a way of we contributing to their preparation. And I know from time to time, these things will do it to help. And I tell people all the time, the questions we asked, they will not be asked the same way. Some of them, they will just throw you off, but they are talking about the same thing. How do you diversify your class? It's the same thing she asked. Classroom safety is the same thing Mr. Ofori asked. The same thing Mr. Bo talk about. If a student is disrespecting you, how do you handle a disruptive student? These questions can be asked in so many ways. Some in form of an example, some in form of questions, some in form of statements. And they'll give you scenarios. They can even give you a scenario. How will you handle this if you are in this particular situation? So I believe it is an opportunity for everyone. If you know you are preparing, those of you who have reached out to me, about almost 6-10 people, that you have interviews, and I gave you the opportunity to come and sit in the hot seat, and you all ran away from me. None of you came. No problem. I'm sure you will send me an email again that, oh, Mr. O, you need preparation. I'm sorry, but you need to watch this video to get prepared. This is what I can do for you because my time is not enough. If you see all these people I gathered, our time is not enough for them. So please, let's make use of this particular program and let's get them ready for the interview programs. Those are my final words. I don't know if anybody has anything to add again, and we'll bring it to a close. Mr. Ofori, anything to add?
No, not for now, at least.
Mr. Booth, anything to add?
No, for now.
All right. Madam Z, thank you so much. If you don't have anything to add, we'll take a leave of you and we'll let you handle your baby back door.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, guys, thank you so much. And I appreciate your time for watching us. We'll see you another time. Good night.